Hello and welcome to the Young Film Academy podcast, the essential podcast for teenagers looking to find their way into the creative industries. I am Dan Allen and I'm joined by Ellen Thomas. How's it going, Ellen?
Hi, Dan. Yes, doing good. I'm sort of jumping in and out of this episode a little bit, aren't I?
You are. Ellen is about to disappear like a ghost. Ellen, can you do your best ghost impression for us?
I'll give it a go.
Go on. Holy moly. Wow. I wasn't ready for that.
You listeners missed the hand effects as well, the hand gestures.
Do you play that tall skinny ghost in Casper?
No, I've just spent way too much time when I was younger playing Mario Bros and going into the haunted house.
Oh, yeah.
And it's just the ghost comes every now and then and you hear that blood curdling.
I love that. So, now I'm in a deep sort of mind swirl of wondering what the true origins are. Ghosts going ooh.
Yeah.
Which actually, now that I've said that, it sort of sounds more like Dracula. But sort of, I don't know. I wonder what ties them sound-wise.
I think it's to do with the wind, isn't it? And a sort of spectral sound that could be the wind, or it's like a spirit coming through the room.
You only have to ask a question on this podcast and it gets answered. It gets answered brilliantly. Ellen, thank you so much. And today we are very excited to be talking to, I'm very excited that I'm going to get to talk to Vince Knight, who is an amazing DOP who I've had the pleasure of working with on my film Bambi the Reckoning, as well as having edited a bunch of films that he's been the cinematographer on, including Peter Pan, Neverland's Nightmares and Blood and Honey too. He's done loads of great stuff. Well worth checking out all of his great work. And he also runs the Motor Film Awards, which is an award ceremony. It was a festival, but it's now an award ceremony that celebrates car sequences within movies, which
cool.
gets some amazing applicants. I think they had some there was an applicant from The Batman in the most recent awards. I can't remember if it won an award, but they get loads of great applicants from the biggest movies all over the world, and also the best emerging filmmakers that work within the action vehicle space. So to find out all about that world and also being a cinematographer, let's welcome to the podcast Vince. How's it going?
Hello, Dan. Thank you. Very good, thank you. I'm in Barcelona right now on a holiday, but this is...
That's very cool. Well, thank you so much for breaking up your holiday.
No, it's a pleasure.
I hope it's been filled with fun things. No, any film-related activities on the holiday, or?
Not really, no. I mean, we've just having an escape from that world, really. It's nice this is the first time ever in my life that I've not brought my laptop.
No, for real?
Yeah, I've not brought my laptop.
How does it feel?
It's nice. It's freeing. I haven't got my laptop. I haven't got my backpack, which is very stressful for me. I'm used to having my backpack. So I just have my phone and clothes and my wallet, and it's nice.
What about the iPads?
No.
Switch?
No.
See, I wish I could do that. But I'm similar to you. I feel like my laptop is like an extra limb.
Yeah.
Especially using it for editing. So I would find it... the thought of that is really liberating, actually.
Yeah.
I think I need to go somewhere without it.
I mean, I would love to.
Very nice.
I would have loved to not even bring my phone, but we so reliant on it nowadays.
Yeah, even just to get around. And now the Google Translate and stuff, they're so good because you can speak into them, and now they do that live translation, I think.
Yeah.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Have you used it at all?
I use the OpenAI one a little bit, but we're getting by with hand signals.
Hola. food.
Yeah.
Like that. And you're driving around. Is it I saw there was another cool car with you, which is relevant to one of our topics, I think.
Just my car, really. We're just taking the one car and then gone for a big drive. We've driven down through Belgium, France, Switzerland, Luxembourg, Italy. We've got the ferry across from Italy to Spain, and now we're going to drive up through Spain and through France and stuff.
Wow, that sounds super cool. Because you obviously super into cars and vehicles, which was am I right in saying that was part of your early filming days, like vehicles and cars have always been a part of like your visual interests and language?
Yeah, I mean, when I was a kid, I was into cars, and as I started to make videos and do little filmy things for fun, I was shooting, my friends' cars and my car, and going to events and filming little drift events and stuff. And that was kind of like a passion thing that I had, and I never really thought that it could be like a job. And then it turns out it was. Someone hired me, and from there I kept getting work, and and it kept growing really. And then that sort of led to me doing all sorts of car commercials, and sort of I decided to start a film festival, which is specializing in car stuff. And
motorhomes.
Not motorhomes.
For those listening, I don't know why. For some reason, the first time Vince mentioned the Motor Film Awards, I heard in my head Motor Home Film Awards, and for years I was like, "Wow, Vince just must really love motorhomes." And it turned out it was absolutely nothing to do with motorhomes.
I always thought you were joking, so I just went along with it. Like, motorhomes.
So the Motor Film Awards, what is that in a nutshell?
It is a sort of film festival awards gala that specializes in automotive content, like documentaries and car commercials and event films and student films and animations and all sorts, and action in feature films, so everything and anything motor related, really.
Nice. Yeah. And you get I've seen you have some cool scenes from some cool films. So you get some sort of, would you say, like a complete range of budgets of films apply?
So like there's a whole, I'd say like half the festival is like the one-man band indie sort of shooters that are, going out with their friends and filming cars or filming events. And then the other half are, big sort of £1 million commercial budget sort of car commercials, TVCs, up to the Hollywood movies. We get the stunt coordinators and directors and production companies submitting these films. So it's a massive range.
Yeah. Is there different categories for different budgets, or because I think one year you had Batman, the new Batman film competing.
Yeah.
Is that going up directly against Dave with his camera? He's just filming his mate doing donuts.
Categories more for like the genre. So we have like drama feature, drama short, documentary feature, documentary short, and then like documentary episode and commercial film, student film, creative film. So if Dave makes a good enough drama feature to get shortlisted alongside Batman, then he would be. But mostly the smaller people are making the the indie films and the creative films and documentaries and stuff.
Okay. So the films that are like different genres, because I would have assumed it was almost entirely like action films. How prevalent does a vehicle need to be? Like, are you ever watching the film being like, how is this going to be relevant? Only to be surprised at the last moment when a car like smashes through a wall for a surprise getaway scene.
So for all the categories, it is mostly about cars, bikes, and that sort of stuff. But then for the drama features and drama shorts, it's not necessarily have to be like a car film. It's not like, it doesn't have to be like Fast and Furious. It can be a film which just happens to have a lot of car chase scenes, action scenes in it to be relevant. And then we sort of the jury judges those particular scenes, I guess, because what they're looking at is how well those particular bits are filmed in terms of like the coordination and the action and the cinematography of those things. Because filming car stuff is a particular niche, and it is a specialized sort of bit of filmmaking. So that's what we're looking at. Yeah.
Nice, very cool. I feel like a lot of people have attended film festivals. When you set one up, did you sort of know what was in store, or was it sort of a big surprise of like, oh, holy moly, I've got to do that. I've got to work out how to do that. Oh my God, we've got to do that. Wait, we need awards, we need prizes. Like what goes into making a festival happen? And what sort of surprised you the most about that process?
I mean, I had done a huge amount of film festivals prior to starting it. I had done a lot of short film festivals. My films had gone a lot of places, so I'd always attend them, and I knew of the circuit quite well. And that's why I started mine, is because I knew there wasn't anything around for the car stuff. So I was like, this should be a thing. But then, yeah, starting it, you kind of realize there is a lot of work. Luckily, I kind of enjoy organizing things. But yeah, I mean, I think the hardest bit is there's a huge amount of data to deal with. It's like last year we had 210 nominated films, so that's 210 files we've got to collect for the jury, 210 synopsises, film posters. You know, I collect all the data of what equipment's used for sponsors. We collect, you know, I've got to contact each and every one of the filmmakers, give them their tickets. And then all of those films have got to be arranged into like the actual awards ceremony. So we moved from a film festival to awards ceremony sort of 10 years ago. So it's not, we don't screen all of the films. We screen segments like kind of like, you know, Oscar style. But,
interesting. Okay. So that feels like quite an interesting distinction then. So you've got a motor film that you'd have like, it's not like a film. Would you consider yourself a film festival or like a film awards?
Yeah, not a festival anymore. Just because, we don't screen all of the films. Just because we have so many films nominated now, and it would take weeks to show them all. And also, I think most people aren't necessarily interested to. What I feel like the audience isn't there as much because it's a bit more niche. So. It's more of like a big networking party, and people come to sort of meet people and get their trophies and have a good time.
Are we allowed to submit Bambi because we've got the camper van chase, or is it disqualified because you shot it?
I mean, if you submit it, I can't stop you, and I'm not. I mean, there's a whole team that are involved in the shortlisting and the judging process, so it's not fully down to me. But I would say that it hasn't got the teeth to compete with the other ones now. But
what, Vince? You can't say that about our own film. That's crazy.
Yeah,
you got to be like, and especially because it's not out yet. So, or maybe it would have just come out. So, by the time this episode comes out, so you got to say, it's. I've never seen a camper van chase that's so good.
It's the best camper van chase I've ever seen.
There you go. Step aside.
It is actually a good scene, I think.
It's not bad, I think it's actually quite cool.
I still have PTSD from the filming process, so
we'll definitely talk about that and sort of spending time in sort of cold, restless nights. But sort of lastly on sort of like the festival and stuff with the if you had someone asking you like how should I go about setting up a festival, do you think that's the first question to ask is, do you want to do a festival or do you want to do an awards? Because I guess one is like the Oscars where it's just an awards. It's not like there's an Oscars festival, but then a lot of festivals also have an awards built in. But I guess, would you say if your festival is almost like a specialist, so something like motors or cars rather, that's where actually maybe you want to look at doing awards, because there might not be the footfall required for to sort of that makes it worth hosting the screening.
The thing is, if it is something niche, and there are a lot of niche film festivals out there, then you do almost have an audience that are wanting to see these sort of films. So when we were a film festival, it did work. We did sell out. So I don't think it should be put off if it is niche. We just transitioned into a award show only because it got so big that it made sense to go that way. But I could have kept it as a film festival and expanded it into a weekend event or a whole week event. But I just thought it would make more sense to go award show route. But to anyone that wants to start it, I mean, if you've got something you think, an idea that is, going to capture people's attentions, or you live somewhere that hasn't got a film festival, that's usually the way things start, is because, I live in a town that has filmmakers and a cinema and nowhere to, enjoy indie films, then that's a good way to go and make something.
Yeah. Oh, very cool. I mean, I would probably set up the Motorhome Film Awards. That's what I would. That would be my my film.
Well, you've got a film for it.
I do, yeah. I know. I'll be the first nominee and winner, perhaps. What sort of separates the when you sort of see so many submissions? I appreciate you've got a team now that sort of probably look at a lot of them. What stands out immediately when you're watching films that maybe has then influenced your filmmaking and you didn't even really think about was such a main thing to allow a film to rise above others from a festival perspective?
I mean, it's a very hard thing to answer because, I mean, we have so many different styles of films where there's like, maybe it's not shot very well, but it has a very great character that they're following, like a sort of documentary story. And you think, okay, this is actually incredible. And maybe it could be something which has no story at all, but it's, has amazing cinematography and audio. So there isn't anything immediately that we look out for. We kind of sort of try and watch all the films in their fullest and kind of give them the benefit of the doubt if they aren't necessarily striking to begin with. But yeah, I mean, in terms of what maybe has influenced me, I don't know. I mean, I can see we've been running it for 12 years now, and I can see the styles of people's filmmaking influence each other as the years go on. There is definitely trends. My work nowadays is I'm not really doing car stuff so much. I'm doing more, narrative features and stuff like that. So it's a little bit less relevant now, I guess. So I'm not really that influenced by it, I guess, but maybe.
Are you influenced whether you say yes to a project or not, if there is some sort of car action stuff that you get to go back to your roots?
Well, I mean, if there's a script with car stuff in it, I'm actually nervous because I think, have they thought about how this is going to be filmed? Have they thought about the costs and the crew we need and the time? And usually answers no. So when I see something narrative with, action and car chases in, I think, oh God, okay.
It feels like you're almost fearing the naivety in a way that maybe... if you hadn't done so many, you'd just be like, yeah, we'll find a way to make it work. Yeah. But actually, sort of the more experience you get, the more you sort of think about all the ways it could go wrong. Has that sort of been the case, would you say?
Yeah, definitely. I think, the more you do something, the more you want to do a better job of it, I guess. And when it comes to car and action, there's a certain level you need to be at, for safety, but also just to do it justice. And you can't, if you have just a camera and a tripod, you can't, and there's just a couple of camera ACs, and there's only so much you're going to be able to do unless you have, the time and the creative freedom to be able to do certain things. And when you're in a big production, you're a little bit limited, I guess.
Yeah. So what was that transition like, actually? You're doing lots of car stuff. I assume it was non-narrative stuff to begin with.
Yeah.
When did you start shooting narrative stuff, or were you already doing that simultaneously, sort of alongside?
I was doing short films, and then at the same time I was doing sort of filming events. So going to the racetrack and filming for a company. We had a TV series on extreme sports. We did 24-minute episodes, and we were doing short viral videos for YouTube and stuff. And they were very different worlds. One of them's very factual and filming, what's happening and cutting it together in a cool way, and the other one is very much storyboarded, planned, and cool sheets. And we actually have a sound guy on that one. So very different worlds. But I was starting to merge the two in a way, because some of my car stuff, I was trying to introduce some narrative stuff, because that's what excited me, that's what interested me. And it was a way to make the content more interesting for the sort of for the audience, if we had fun little stories and narrative bits in it. So it did merge a little bit, and then ultimately I started getting hired on feature films. So my car event stuff kind of was less prevalent.
What was the process like of getting chosen for those sort of things? Because I found that I was going to say that people almost lack imagination, right? Even though you've proven yourself in one area, people aren't very quick to be like, oh, maybe he could also do this. But I think lack of imagination is the wrong word. I think there's always a risk involved, right, of hiring someone to do something different to what they've done before. how did you convince people that you could do a feature or you could do that sort of something different?
I think everyone will put their own spin on something, I guess. So if someone hasn't done something before and they're confident enough to do it, then definitely give them a chance. For me, getting into features are particularly hard to get into if you haven't done a feature. A lot of producers and directors, they don't want to, they're nervous to hire someone if they've only done shorts, which seems silly because it's the same thing. It's just, more days. So a good way for people to get into it is if you can assist on features, so you at least have some feature film credits. Or for a cinematographer, a good way is to be like a second unit cinematographer on features. So I did a few as second unit DOP. So I could at least say I have shot features. Not necessarily all of them, but at least I have feature credits now as a DOP. So I managed to do a few quite big feature films early in my career as second unit, which was very lucky. And then those really opened the door for me to be the main cinematographer on a feature film. And then once I got my first one in the bag, it was easier.
Yeah. It's always that classic thing of like, getting the first one, and then it's like, oh, this person does this. They can actually like do it, and you sort of proving yourself.
Exactly.
What was it like? Obviously, you already knew how to shoot. Did you consider yourself as someone that already had a style? And what was it like sort of making that adjustment to, there's now a script, there's now actors that are doing things quite a lot repeatedly, right? I suppose there's less opportunism in that world versus finding frames in the other. Or did you try and bring that finding frames energy?
I think filming a lot of events and documentaries as well, where you've got to be in the right place and you've got to find the right, like you say, opportunities is very, very helpful for features. Because I've operated a lot myself and I focus pulled a lot myself, and this is super helpful for like running and gunning. And I think that bringing that into a feature is very helpful because you can achieve quite a lot in a short amount of time. And I think it's all well and good having the time to set things up and light things and do things as you want, but as we know, often this isn't the case, and things get changed and things go wrong, and we've lost that location, we've got to make it work here. And suddenly you have to kick into your sort of documentary style filmmaking and find the right angles that work well and find the nice light and run and gun and make it work. And so I think it is about finding those opportunities, and that is very helpful in feature films.
I'd say that the one thing that I think makes you sort of great at what you do, that I know other people really like as well, is you sort of know how to tell sequences. So you're not just thinking, how can I make this shot look great? You're thinking, we need 4 other shots to effectively cover this scene. Is that because you have experience with editing, or you just feel like your film knowledge is sort of sufficient that you sort of know what shots are needed? Sort of where did that knowledge of telling stories visually come from?
I haven't really done any narrative editing. So, I mean, I have done a lot of editing for the event stuff. So I do know that coverage helps, but I think maybe just being involved in post and seeing, what helps make a scene better. And I think for me, the most important thing as a cinematographer is it's not about making it look pretty. You're trying to deliver something from the page to the screen, and ultimately you're realizing the director's vision. And if you can get more angles and more content and help tell the story, that is the ultimate goal, isn't it, really? But I guess to answer your question, my work in post has helped that. I mean, for me, I think it's very important to know what you can do in post, so you can know how far you can sort of push the color grade. How there's so many times when I'm shooting and I know they've said cut, but if I hold on a couple more seconds just while the actor's caught off guard, the editor might find that very useful. And In my experience, I've found that often it is, or to roll a little bit early, or to, sometimes we do sort of rolling takes where you keep going and you just reset, and you get a few little moments in between. And I'm sure as an editor yourself, you've used plenty of those moments which weren't meant to be used, but
you just end up with like a sort of a particular glancing look from an actor, and it just sort of captures everything you needed from their character in that moment. Or just such like a vacantness that allows the audience to pour in the feeling. Because all they're doing is they're just lost in their own thoughts, or sort of thinking about what's about to come up, and you just get the sense that there's something going on behind the eyes, but it's not being too prescriptive of what that is. And then that can sort of turn out to be quite useful, really, when you do get those moments. And often that can happen like between takes, as it were. I think that is really helpful when you have sort of experience in those sort of other fields. But you've obviously, with your stuff, I think your experience sort of you've been involved in post. You can color grade as well, right? Have you always been grading your own footage as well?
Not always. I think on the bigger budget stuff we have a colorist involved, which is a luxury. But just out of working on things where there isn't the budget to have someone, it's through necessity, really. But that's from the early days of grading my own stuff, that has sort of enabled me to do it. And it's a really important skill to have, I think, because you can. I find with some people they kind of shoot and then they just dump the footage on the editor and they don't think about it again, and they're not necessarily the ones there having to fix it. And when I'm also the colorist, I know how far I can push things, or I can shoot and I know that I'm going to be able to save that. I mean, there was a classic example, was a scene in one of my sci-fi films where we're in this hallway and it was a big glass corridor and we had the sunlight coming and going. And we were on a gimbal without aperture. I couldn't adjust aperture on the fly. So we were doing these long talking takes, and the sun was coming and going, and there was not much I could do about exposure at the time. I mean, we could maybe wait and hold and try and, keep shooting until we get the right moment of the sun not coming and going. But I was keeping an eye on the exposure, and I kind of knew that at what point was it savable, at what point was it not savable. And the director was stressing and saying it's overexposed, and I'm like, trust me, it's fine. We're gonna, it's gonna be okay. And I was the colorist, and it was fine. But if I hadn't maybe got the experience in post, I maybe would not have known. So,
was that using those graphs that you sort of can put up on the camera screen? Or
exactly. Keep an eye on exposure, really. But sometimes things are technically not overexposed, but they are still too bright for what you want. If that makes sense. But I kind of knew where we wanted things to be and where things were going, so it was okay.
I quite like those sort of. Someone taught me that sort of. You'll probably tell me I'm wrong now, but trying to get on sort of the histogram, the brightness sort of graph, which I used to just.
You can say exposed thoroughly.
I can eyeball it, but now it's just helpful because you don't know how bright the screen is, so it can sort of lie to you about how bright you're recording. But just being told that faces, you kind of want them sitting around 50%. I don't know if that's a number that you would agree with, but sort of getting that in the middle. And I'm like, okay, as long as I know that's the case, I sort of almost care less about overexposing the highlights these days, as long as the highlights aren't on someone's face.
I mean, the thing is, some people stress about things clipping and shadow detail being lost, but if you point the camera at the sun, you're never going to expose the sun, are you? And if you point the camera at like a shadow under a car on a sunny day, you're never going to expose that. So it's like, what is realistic to the human eye? And if you're pointing the camera down a dark alleyway and there's a single light source and a guy stood under it, most of your frame is going to be on the graph completely underexposed. And I had some sort of friends when I was at uni that they were sort of trying to have everything exposed correctly on the graph, and it doesn't make sense. You can't, and I've had times where I'm filming and my AC said to me, you've got things on your, on your exposure that are clipping or overexposed. I'm like, but that's like, the reflection of the sun off a car windscreen, or, that light bulb in the very background. I put my finger over that bit of the screen or that bit of the lens just to hide that tiny little object, just to kind of see, what is, and it's like, I don't mind that a light bulb is overexposed because it should be,
yeah. But I think there's sort of a trend moving away as well. I feel like, because we had that world of 80s, 90s, so that when you're shooting on film, you did have a lot more sort of like clipping. I mean, you had the famous like bright windows, like, every window was just like a wall of light in sort of many Spielberg films, or certainly lots of 80s, 90s films. Whereas now cameras have sort of improved so much that actually they can record far more detail in the highlights and far more details in the shadows. But what you end up with there is what people call like a flatter image, right? Whereas so people have commented on a lot of modern films actually feeling quite sterile or sort of bland because they don't have that same contrast. They aren't willing to push the highlights into the extremes and the shadows into the...
I think you're right. People are afraid to throw away data now. It's like you want to capture the perfect image and, show everything. And sometimes, you're right, the style comes from what you don't see, or what is lost, or what is corrupted and damaged. And, so I think, like you've done for Bambi, part of the grade for that was kind of crushing things and blowing some things out and adding some, additional distortion and grain and stuff. And that's, it's nice. I like it.
Yeah. We added some like edge blur as well. Do you remember the just sort of almost simulate anamorphics, but also to tie in the VFX, like make it feel like it is almost like a dirty image, and create some like cohesion. Which is quite nice. Especially helps because we shot on like FX3, so it's like cheaper camera. I think it helps if it has sort of a particular look and texture and feel to it.
Yeah, definitely.
When you are approaching like a new film, obviously you've worked in so many different genres. How much are you thinking about sort of the aesthetic and sort of how that pertains to the genre, would you say?
I guess for me, the first discussion would be with the director to kind of know what their vision is, because, you can approach any genre with any style. And it's like, I know some genres have specific tropes that people aim for, but you never know what a director's vision might be. And obviously I like to try and bring something to the table as well, but ultimately I'm here to service the director's vision and kind of help them achieve what they want. And, you could have a horror film and the director could say, well, I want it to be a very clean and sterile and we want to go 4:3, and, or they could say, I want it to be super grungy, anamorphic, dark and grainy, and, you never know what it could be. Or they could say, I don't know what I want and I want you to help me choose that and decide that, so we can kind of, look at examples together, or, come up with ideas and sort of build a look from there, really. So I don't think I go into a genre with a specific plan. It's more like, what does the script require? What does the director require? And go from there.
Nice. So it's more like a film by film basis than like a genre basis. Was it fun though when you first started exploring different genres? Like, what were the first features you were doing? Were they more dramas, or did you go sort of straight in with horror stuff? Because obviously I know you've done quite a lot of horror, having both worked.
Well, when I was second unit, so I guess I wasn't really involved in the look on that, but that was a big sort of action World War II film, where we're literally like in built trenches and explosions are going off and people are flying on rigs and all sorts. So that was very fun. But my first film as a DOP where I'm sort of involved in the look actually was a horror. And then my second one after that was a sort of comedy. So very, very different, very different films. But the comedy was interesting because it's very different in terms of we had to have things a lot brighter and fun and cleaner, but it did have a slight thriller edge. We had some sort of comedy death scenes and that and stuff. So that was the Jay and Silent Bob one. I think maybe you knew about that Madison method. So, I mean, I forgot what the question was.
Now I have as well. I can't remember. I suppose just looking at how you sort of like break down different films and sort of working with different genres. And creating sort of different looks for movies and stuff. What do you enjoy most about sort of changing projects and working across quite different things?
It's nice to be able to explore and experiment with different things. Like, people talk about the look, and a lot of people when they say look, they think it's the camera and the lenses. But for me, it's also about the movement of the camera and the style of the lighting, and are we going to try various things that we maybe wouldn't do in another style? Are we going to have the actor, framed in a particular way for a lot of the film? Are we going to have them do various things that we wouldn't do? Like, are we going to have POV shots? Are we going to have them breaking the fourth wall? So there's all these different kind of styles things that we can do. And for me, it's very fun to explore those things and try new things and see what works and doesn't work. And
Is your starting point always the director, or do you like to do like research by yourself first? Or is the script sort of more your jumping off point? Like, which of those three things has sort of the most influence, would you say?
I think it's probably the director's the main thing, but sometimes sometimes I would like to, make a lookbook myself and kind of say, like, I've read the script. This is what I envision for it. This is what I have in mind. And I don't know if this aligns with what you're thinking, and take it to the director and they'll say, this is exactly what I like, or this is exactly what I hate. And then we'll go from there. And it's nice for me to kind of do my own research and kind of come up with some ideas regardless of what the director's thinking, but ultimately go with what the director's wanting and collaborate somewhere in the middle, or work something out.
If have you ever like disagreed with a director and just been like, we just want to make different movies?
There's been times where I'll strongly advise a certain thing if I think the director has, I wouldn't say wrong, but like, something that I think isn't going to work. But ultimately I won't argue with them about it. I'll suggest something. I'll say, look, in my, opinion that this isn't going to work, but ultimately, I've learned to trust the directors, because even if something sounds terrible, or like, there's been a few times where I'm like convinced that this idea they have is, the worst thing in the world, and then we'll do it, and then I'll watch it in the final, we'll be watching it in the cinema, and I'll be like, you know what, I actually think it was good. I think they were right. And I've had that a couple of times in my career now, to know that to go with it. If a director wants to try something and I think it's rubbish, it's their film. Let's do it. Let's try it. I'm here to help. I'm here to, advise. I'm here to help them achieve that dream. And, sometimes the craziest of ideas turn out to be something really cool and unique. And, so I'm never really, actually disagreeing with a director on something. I think it's, if they want to try something I don't like, I'm here for it,
Yeah. I wonder, for the people that are like, think they want to maybe go into cinematography, firstly, I want to hear sort of your advice on how to be a good assistant camera, so a good AC. But also, when these people are working on their own films and they're trying to elevate them, do you have any like top tips of like things to do? Like, if you do this, your shots are just going to look so much better. What would Vince Knight's crash course in making your shots absolutely stunning be?
All right. Well, the first bit about the ACs. Firstly, I'm a terrible AC.
And why are you a terrible AC?
When I was an AC, I was terrible. I don't know. I think maybe I'm lazy. I mean, a good AC is someone that can, not predict, but, preempt things that are needed. So a good AC will be prepared for, all the things that could go wrong, all the things that we need. And, if we need to pack a little bag to go on the road, do we need batteries? Do we need the ND filters? Do we need, an extra memory card? Have we got a spare memory card with it? All those little things where, you want an AC that's on top of those sort of things. And I'm a bit rubbish at that stuff. So I think... Yeah, I mean, I work with some amazing ACs, and for me, ultimately, what I'm looking for is, are they a nice person, and are they reliable, and are they, on top of things? And I think people always say like, oh, don't you want a focus puller that is the best focus puller in the world? And I'm like, well, for me, there's 3 qualities of someone I want, and it's their technical ability, their reliability, and then their sort of, are they nice at being a person on set? But I want it in the opposite order. I want them mainly to be nice, and can I get along with them, and are they going to get along with people on set? Because there's nothing worse than having a crew that, are difficult to deal with, or, they have a bit of an ego on them, and, or they're like a bit of a nightmare when it comes to things, because that energy rubs off on everyone else, and that energy rubs off on the actors. And if there's a sort of slightly hostile environment, this quite literally affects the performance of the actors and ultimately the film. So I'd rather have crew that are maybe a bit, not as experienced, or not, technically as good at what they do. But if they're like 10 times more fun and enjoyable and nice and, friendly and happy to be on set, this is so much more important for me and the film and the team. And and I have directors and producers compliment me on the team that comes and works in the film, because you want that for the film and the actors. So I guess for me, what makes a good AC is really your personality or your attitude that you bring to the set, and then ultimately if you can also be reliable and somewhat good at your job, that helps.
So good person, reliable, turns up on time, tries to avoid dropping things,
doesn't cancel,
and then sort of lastly being sort of good.
If someone's making
not that to say that's not worth something, but it obviously
it definitely is worth something. But I mean, if someone's still a bit fresh and they're still learning, if they're like a trainee and they want to, maybe they're not perfect at what they're doing and they're still learning, that's fine. Come along, and if you have the right attitude and you're super reliable, they'll take you much further than being really, really good at your job, but you're going to cancel, or you're going to be a nightmare on set. So
do people, obviously I imagine a lot of people want to make a really good impression, so maybe try too hard. Do you have like do you want that sort of, you can be friendly, but do you want big friendly, or do you want small friendly sometimes?
I know what you mean.
It's like a junior role.
I think you don't want to be overbearing in the way that it's going to be kind of a bit awkward, especially with like cast around and stuff like that, or directors and producers and stuff. So I think be friendly and professional, but not super keen, I guess. Well, I don't know.
It's like, it's sort of like calming that energy. Be part of the pyramid.
We've all been there, where we're fresh on set and it's exciting, and you want to meet everyone.
Oh man, I feed off it. I feed off that energy of like the runners, anyone that's sort of like it's their first shoot, it's their first feature. And you're like, you guys are giving me life. You're
not jaded yet.
Exactly.
It's great.
You're reminding me this is really cool.
We need those people.
100%. And then obviously, the next part of the question, although quite unrelated, is how do we turn someone's frown upside down? How do we turn someone's shots to looking really cool? What's Vince's 101 on creating amazing shots?
I mean, that's a difficult question, isn't it? I mean, when it comes to the horror and the thrillers and stuff like that, my go-to, and what I always tell people, is just loads of backlight. Add some haze if you can. Just make it dark and dramatic. I don't know. I mean, it all depends on like you say, the genre or the look and the style that the director wants. I don't know. I mean,
big camera moves, would you say? Do you need certain grip equipment? Like, you should get these lights to get you going?
I mean, one of my films that I did, I had one light and I had one lens, and a tripod, and that was all we had. And I think sometimes it was good, actually. It worked out well. Yeah. I think sometimes having limitations is freeing, and it makes you find, solutions that you wouldn't usually do. I think a lot of people now stress about the equipment that they need, and if I haven't got this lens or if I haven't got this new light, I'm not going to be good. But ultimately, the best way to improve as a cinematographer or a filmmaker is to just shoot and just to make stuff. And I think a lot of people, they try and hold off on their first project because they're waiting on something to happen or to have something or some planets to align. And I think, nothing's ever going to be perfect. So you might as well just get on and do it and improve from there, really. I don't know. I think the best way to improve is to shoot. So that's my advice, I guess.
So just keep filming. The best. If you really want to improve your shots, you just got to shoot enough shots that your shots get better and better and better.
You've got to make mistakes. You got to shoot stuff badly and then watch it and then look and go, why is that bad? Or what could I have done better? And nothing. You can watch a million YouTube videos and you can read a million books and watch a million movies, but once you have a camera in your hand and an actor in front of you and you've got a light to move, then you kind of realize that this is what I can achieve and how things change as I make changes.
Would you prefer to go better lights, better camera? If you could only choose good one of those,
probably lights. I mean, but I don't know, because it's like what is the film about? Because I've done films where we have hardly any lights at all because it's we're following a young kid through his sort of coming to age in walking outside in the daylight, and I've not needed any lights for that film. And I think ultimately I would say better lights or more lights, because there's situations where you want to achieve something and you can't because of a particular space. Nowadays most cameras are good enough, they're all basically the same, aren't they? Let's be honest. I don't watch a movie and I go, that was shot on red, or that was shot on Arri, or that was shot on film. Even nowadays people are so good at emulating film, and I don't stress about what the camera is really, lenses a bit more, but I'd say light is more important, and having the option to say you're in a room and you need a particular light because it's a small room and you don't have anything small enough to get a light in the corner without it being in your shot, or you want to get light in through the window but you don't have a big enough light stand to reach the window, stuff like that. Really, that will make a much more dramatic change to the look of the shot if you could get the nice light through the window, as opposed to suddenly changing from a Black Magic to a Alexa or something. Do you know what I mean? It's not gonna. Yeah.
Obviously, we had to talk about it because we both worked on it. Well, actually, to be fair, there's quite a few films that we've both worked on now. Obviously, I've edited quite a few films that you've shot. But Bambi.
Yeah.
How was Bambi for you working on it? Because it was, I know that I've told this story a couple of times now, actually, which is just when we were on set of Peter Pan or Pinocchio, and I was asking the actors sort of what the worst shoot they'd ever had was. I asked a few people, and a bunch of camera team were like, I think Bambi. But I was expecting horror stories about like terrible directors and stuff, and then it turned out Bambi was one of the worst ones I'd ever done. But I think it was because their reasoning, it was just late and cold, because the whole film was just night shoots in winter, which was just quite unpleasant.
It was particularly hard, yeah.
How was your experience of it, would you say?
I mean, I just have so many memories of mud and cold and frost, trying to drag the mag liner through just mud.
Oh my gosh,
and just I mean, it was particularly difficult, wasn't it? I think it just was so cold. It was just so cold and such long night hours, really. But other than that, it was fun. I think it was really good. I struggled a little bit to begin with the camera setup, if you remember.
Oh man, yeah, because we tried to do that like Gareth Edwards type over shoulder scorpion gimbal rig thing.
Yeah.
And it just didn't work. We couldn't get it working, right?
Well, we got it working. It's not particularly ergonomic, I think.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think maybe. Yeah. I'm just not a fan of gimbal for everything. I think as a.
And I would say that film was 80% gimbal.
What, Bambi or his film? Yeah, really.
It's because on Pooh too, I saw how good you and your team were at shooting really good looking visuals all on a gimbal. I'd never seen a team work so fluidly on a gimbal. And I was like, holy, because my experience with gimbals had always been, we've got to pause for ages, I've got to fix this, or it's not working, now it's got to be rebalanced, now there's this, and then all these stop, start. And I remember seeing how good you guys were and the shots you guys were getting on Pooh with like some of the people in the forest. And I was like, oh my God, we could shoot a whole movie like this. We don't need any tracks or dollies. I think there's a couple of dollies in the film, but for the most part, most of the push-ins are all gimbal. And I think it works quite beautifully. If I say so myself.
I mean, gimbal, they are great bits of kit, aren't they, really? It's just a bit frustrating sometimes when you want to just get something simple and it kind of overcomplicates things. But, we made it work. I think the problem for me was going from the Ronin 2 down to the RS2 or whatever it was. I don't like these small handheld ones. I'm used to working with the bigger, beefier ones with a couple of guys and remotely controlling and stuff. But I think we swapped it over, didn't we, and got the bigger one. And
we did, yeah. I think it was after one day, but then we had to wait a couple of days to get it delivered or something.
Maybe, I don't know.
Because I think we didn't have it because we only sort of had budget for one gimbal, and we took this other gimbal. It didn't quite work. And when we realised it wasn't going to work, it was sort of quite stressful, I think, if I recall.
Maybe I'm just not very good at
it. No, that was that thing. But the moment you're on home turf, the moment you have that little joystick and you can remote control the camera and the gimbal setup. I think
the problem is when you're in the woods, you have very dangerous ground, and it's hard to run safely and control the framing and all of these things where when you have the bigger gimbal and you have a couple of guys operating it, they can solely concentrate on where they're walking, safely walking, if they need to run, and then I can concentrate purely on the framing and everything else. So it's much better for me.
No, I think it worked really well. And I mean, the whole camera team was essentially 3 people. It was you, 2 ACs, which is very small, and then there was 2 people in lighting. Right, you had sort of Dom gaffering and Miguel, I think, and then someone else joined
Mike?
As well.
No. Oh no, cut this bit out.
But yeah, you had a very small team in sort of camera and lighting, so it was sort of very impressive how much you guys managed to do, and especially in all the conditions and all the varied stuff as well. Like we had to run out one night and we had like an hour to shoot all these car exteriors, which was a bit mental. I remember us being worried that we were shooting a load of rubbish and that everything we were getting was like actually looked terrible. And once we got indoors and we sort of set up some lights, both of us just were on a bit more home turf of like, we can compose stuff now. We can be like, we want the moody, like we just want it all underlit, all the lamps in the corners, all that classic moody indoor horror stuff. Whereas like when it was just outdoors and we were just like, it's just directional light, although it actually looks a lot better than I feared it did on set, I think, but we knew what we both wanted for the forest was like a big moon on a crane. And we just had 3 lights on stands basically.
I think when you're out in the woods with very basic lighting, it just feels a bit amateur, doesn't it? And you kind of feel like we're just back to film school and we're just kids running around not knowing what we're shooting, and you're trying to look in a particular direction and go, well, that bit of woods looks slightly better, and it's really kind of seems a bit of a run and gun sort of make it up as you go style, doesn't it, when you're in the woods? But you're right, once we got inside it was much more home turf.
I mean, yeah, we sort of like, I think, if I recall correctly, we sort of suddenly believed in ourselves as as filmmakers again. We're like, oh no, we do know what we're doing, which was very nice. Do you have any other sort of standout moments, horror stories, memories? I know we had a bit of trouble with the car rig, but you loved the upside down rig, didn't you? When we were sort of rotating round, you sort of just had the camera over your shoulder and were just holding onto it for dear life as the whole sort of camera rig rotated upside down. Do you remember this?
Yeah, I mean, I thought it was great. I was excited to go in that. I mean, yeah, I mean, I think I'm into the kind of exciting and dangerous kind of experiences, but
Yeah.
I think the car rig was great, wasn't it? We got what we needed, even though we ended up only having a tiny window of time to do it, as always. Trying to think what other experiences. I mean, I really enjoyed going off and filming the camper van driving extra shots. I think that was quite exciting.
I know I kept mentioning like, well, we just do it afterwards, or we'll just get another team to do it, and sort of I could see behind your eyes, it's like another team shoot our car stuff or my car stuff.
I'm just so wary of like if you say we'll do it later and then it just doesn't get done, and then we're in the
I thought
edit,
you just you couldn't stand the thought of someone else getting to film cars driving very fast.
No, it's not that. I mean, I trust second units. It's more like I've heard it so many times before where it's like, oh, we'll arrange another shoot later on next month and we'll get another unit going, and it just doesn't happen. It ends up, and it's like then the edit's crap because you haven't got what you need.
Yeah, for sure. No, it was super fun. It was super fun working together on it. And yeah, excited to see it in the cinema with you very soon, which would be cool.
Yeah.
Share it with them. Do you get nervous sharing things you've worked on in a cinema, like seeing that final result, or is it quite an exciting phase, like you don't have to worry about things quite so much by that point?
It's interesting how different something is when you watch it with an audience or even someone else. Have you ever like watched a film 100 times in the edit yourself and you love it, and then you sit and you watch it with someone else and you become acutely aware of things being different? Do you know what I mean? It's like, and I think when you sit in a cinema and you have an audience, you suddenly realize things that, are scary, or things that are meant to be funny not being funny, or things you didn't even particularly think about, suddenly the audience loves, and it's like, oh, okay, that moment got them or something. I'm not nervous though. I don't particularly get nervous because it's not my film, it's your film. You're gonna be the one they hate. I can just turn off and enjoy it.
Be like, well, at least it looks nice.
Yeah, well, I mean, you shouldn't worry though. I think people are going to love it, and I think watching in a cinema, my main worry is it's going to be too bloody dark. You know what cinemas are like.
You can't say that. We literally went and brightened it again, and I was relying on you guys to tell me if it was too dark. So
I know, but I
bright enough.
But I go and watch actual movies at cinemas, and we'll go and watch it in one cinema, and then you go and watch it again at another cinema, and it's completely different look and completely different sound. And they say they have standards, but they don't. If anything, it's terrible. That's what I became very aware of during the sort of the Pooh premieres, is that we tested it in different screens at the same cinema, and things were so different, and they had to make adjustments, and they have this sort of Dolby level of audio, and I don't know, I think they've all turned the volume down because of all the Nolan films these days, but I've just learned that there's no standard for anything, so you can make your film brighter and it's going to look crap in one cinema and too dark in another cinema and too loud in one and too quiet in another, so don't stress about it, just make it look as good as you can. And
so I was going to ask, this is the questions that we sort of ask all our guests as we sort of come to a close on the questions. What were you doing during your teenage years that sort of set yourself up for what you do now, whether knowingly or unknowingly? And what advice would you whisper into that teenage Vince's ear?
I was filming like skateboarding videos and Jackass stuff and friends.
I filmed some Jackass stuff. Did you film just like mates like running into stinging nettles?
And, just like stupid stuff, and
setting fire to things.
Exactly.
Sorry, no, setting fire to things. That's crazy.
And skateboarding videos and
Nice.
and just silly little stories. Really, I mean, YouTube didn't even exist then. There wasn't anywhere to watch videos. I mean, there was like, what was it, Mega Upload maybe? I can't remember what it's called. So I mean, the videos that you'd see would literally be on TV or on people's like computers if they had found a video and someone had shared it with them. Maybe, I don't know, but I don't know. What my advice would be: keep pursuing it, because there was a period in my life where I didn't even know that being a videographer could be a job. I didn't know that filming things could be, a job. It wasn't, obviously I knew that the movie world existed, but I didn't even think that, I don't know, I was just so young. I didn't even know that people worked on those. It was just like, I've gone sideways. I didn't even know that, that was a career that people could have. Because, as a teenager, I was looking at, my sort of potential careers for the future. And I remember, do you remember the UCAS advisors coming into schools and that sort of thing?
Oh, God, yeah. And you tell them what your hopes and dreams were, and they'd just be like, well, that's not realistic, mate.
Yeah, they'd look on their little computer of the list of, potential careers. And for me, they looked at my, the A-levels that I was doing, and that was sort of like art and design tech and IT, I guess, and they were like, "Oh, you should do graphic design." So I was like, "Okay." I went to uni to do graphic design, and I hated it, and I quit.
Wow.
And
what did that prove to be useful at all? Graphic design.
I mean,
did you design your own motorhome film awards? sorry, motor film awards. Like,
I mean,
that was an accident. That was a sincere accident as well. I sort of almost, it just rolls off the tongue now.
Maybe I'll do a spin-off award show. I mean, I do a lot of the graphic design myself, but I don't know if that's from my time at uni, because I was kind of doing a lot of fun photoshopping and graphic stuff anyway. So it kind of seemed like that should be my career, but as a job, I hated it. But on the side, I do my own graphic design stuff for the awards, which is helpful, save some money.
Yeah.
But then once I sort of quit doing that, I kind of, because I was filming all this at the same time anyway, and I never really put two and two together, and then I just sort of carried on filming, and it became a job.
Yeah. So that advice then would be just
to film, keep filming. That can be your job.
Yeah. Amazing.
Yeah.
Vince, thank you so much for your time.
It's been
a real lovely journey through cars, festivals, and filming all sorts of stuff. So thank you. We hope there will be some excited and ambitious filmmakers in the making listening to this.
Yeah, well, good luck to all of them. I think, the main thing is just keep filming, get filming, meet people. You never know who's going to be making a movie and needs help. Yeah.
Where should people look out for opportunities? Is it like Instagram and stuff a lot these days?
Yeah. I mean, there are job listing websites on there like Mandy and Shooting People and stuff like that. But I mean, the main way is really just knowing people and getting to know people and connecting with people. And Instagram is great for that, isn't it? A lot of people are often putting up Instagram stories and posts saying, we're shooting a movie. Just reach out to them and say, hey, I want to help. I want to get involved. I want to work on this. And even if you're super fresh, you can always go and help out for a couple of days. And I'm sure, making a film is hard and people need help, and they're not going to turn away someone keen and excited to come help on their film. So a lot of people see film sets and they say, how can I get involved in this? And it's like, well, just get in touch, because we need help.
And would you say that cinematographers in particular, they need to make their own films, like make things happen to give themselves the opportunity to shoot stuff? Because I guess no one's going to give them that first.
I think it can be a little bit like an actor's show, isn't it? You kind of need to sometimes shoot scenes yourself and just go off and make things. And you could very easily make a nice cinematography showreel just on your own with a camera if you go out into the city or the countryside and shoot some nature and get a friend to film a couple of scenes with. And before you know it, you've got, some very beautiful shots that you can use and at least showcase that kind of what you're doing. And then from there, you got to have some sort of show release, haven't you? So
for sure. I love it. Vince, thanks for all your time.
Thank you.
And wisdom. And I hope to speak to you soon, buddy. Thanks for joining us.
See you in LA next week.
See you in LA. And welcome back to the pod. Ellen, how's it going?
Hello, I'm here.
She is here. She was lurking in the background actually the entire time.
Yes, I was just silently listening. No, I was I was sad to miss that episode. How was it, Dan?
Yeah, amazing. No, it was really good. I mean, Vince has got so much sort of knowledge, experience and wisdom. And, I personally love working with him, so it was great to get him on board. And yeah, it's just great seeing, his stuff go from sort of strength to strength, both of us having stuff in cinemas now, which is really cool.
Yeah.
And yeah, it was nice to chat with him about Bambi, despite, all talking about the hardships and being filming in the freezing cold.
Yeah.
Which was tough. And then, I think what was great is, when I was trying to sort of pin him down, I was like, okay, what can you do exactly to improve your shots? And ultimately, it came down to this sense that there's not sort of a clear, this'll fix it type approach. All that you're left with is dedication and hard work and just shooting enough stuff, I feel like it's sort of the same with a lot of art. I don't know how you feel, Ellen, but like there's no like, oh, just do this and it will make everything better. It's give it a go, give it another go, give it another go, and keep going. And then eventually all that you're left with is hopefully just better and better work.
I think it's about patience and sort of developing an instinct. It's like building a muscle and building a skill, which is what creative pursuits are all about, to be honest. Just like giving yourself the time and patience to develop it, and not like put pressure on yourself to sort of get there really quickly, but sort of allowing it to maybe be a bit rubbish for a little bit.
No, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, I always love to say, that getting good at something is just sort of running out of mistakes. Every single time you make something, you're just like, oh, I've made these 5 mistakes. And it's like, okay, well, I won't make those mistakes next time. But then there's still, next time you make it other mistakes, But eventually you just have fewer and fewer mistakes that are physically possible to make. And therefore you end up making just better and better stuff. As long as you keep up the practice and keep putting in the time and the hard work, then I think, it's all doable, it's all achievable. And the other thing you said as well, which I think we sort of have heard before in sort of quite a reassuring way, is people hire people. They want good people. There's not like if you're really knowledgeable about this, then that just means you're hired. It's like, no, you've got to be a good person first.
Yeah, you've got to withstand those cold, freezing nights that you mentioned.
Exactly. Absolutely.
You've got to be a friendly face in the cold.
Oh, you gotta be nice, and for that's definitely the indie film world. You're gonna have some resilience, some endurance to sort of make it through and everything. We have a question.
Do we now?
This question is from Faye. Faye wants to get a set of lights to start filming with, and wonders which lights she should get. Now, Ellen, the lighting queen, would you like to?
You can help me out here a little bit, Dan, because what I'm going to do is give a really vague suggestion where I have no names of anything, but it's like something that I know about. Is that I think you can get like an LED light block and there's an app that you can connect it to your phone.
Yeah.
And you can change the color of the light or and like whether it's like strobing or whatever. And I think that's a really good, like, simple first piece of kit to get that's accessible and portable and low commitment, if you know what I'm saying. I don't know. Yeah, what are your thoughts on that?
No, I agree. You know, the best light is the one you've got.
There's also natural
using
light.
even lamps is good.
Yeah.
Natural light is amazing. If you can't afford lights, you can shoot your films all outdoors.
Yeah.
And that will genuinely look amazing. Loads of, like, most outdoor scenes in films use natural light in a way. They sometimes filter it through like what's called a silk. You can also, just be careful that the light bulbs aren't causing like flickering and strobing, but just regular light bulbs that are in lamps in your house are good.
I think lamps.
Be mindful of how you're lighting rather than sort of what with is sort of the first thing. But then, if you do want to buy something, I agree with Ellen. You want to get an LED. You can get some really good ones fairly affordably these days. Wi-Fi use a lot of aperture ones, which it actually is. Vince uses loads of aperture ones. Like, I think he's got like a whole kit of aperture stuff, which is spelled aputure. Well, that's always how it was spelled. I might have changed it now, but it was sort of like a misspelling of aperture, APER.
I think there's lots of names in the film industry that someone decided, and they're a bit wacky.
They are a bit wacky. Go on, did you have any favourite wackies, Ellen? Or you don't want to name and shame?
I'm trying to think. There's so many that I hear sometimes, and I'm like, what even is that? But my head has gone blank. But I'm sure we'll return to this.
I'm sure we will. But yeah, Faye, I hope that is helpful.
Yeah.
We like aperture, but yeah, absolutely. Be resourceful is the first thing I would say.
Lamps are your best friend.
Lamps are your best friend. And if they look a bit dim, you go and get some stronger bulbs, because you can always darken it in the edit, whereas it's really hard to brighten something in the edit.
Exactly,
But yeah, just be like, hey, mum and dad, if you live with mum and dad, your bulbs are rubbish. You need to get some brighter ones, please and thank you.
Let's see my homework.
I can't see my homework. That's great one, Ellen. That is a good one. Yeah, use that. So you can't see your homework, and then just crack on with shooting a movie once they've replaced the bulbs.
Yeah.
And go for the warmer ones rather than sort of the sterile looking. And this is specifically for lamps.
This is just becoming sort of aesthetics now, isn't it? Like how to light your home.
It is.
Never turn on that big light.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah, lamps. But yeah, go and analyse your films that look nice. Half of the look is in how they've actually lit the space. It's fairy lights in the background, or it's warm lamps with green walls. Unless it's like doing an evening moody night scene is much better or much easier to light a space with if you've got white walls than sort of daylight where you've got white walls. It's just going to look rubbish real quick because it's just going to look really bland.
And I would say actually on a final note to go and listen to our episode with Kiara, who is a
great idea
cinematographer, and she goes crazy for lights in that episode, I believe, and we talk a lot about it in the outro as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, guys, thank you so much for listening. Do send your questions to podcast@youngfilmacademy.co.uk, and we hope to answer them on a future relevant episode. I'll see you guys soon.
Thank you, bye.